Elias dusted off the antique mirror, a gift from his estranged grandmother. Its ornate frame, crafted from dark polished wood, seemed to absorb the light. He ran a finger along the cool glass, surprised by its age and the strange energy it emitted. That night, staring into its depths, he saw a reflection unlike his own. It was him, but older, weathered, with lines etched around sorrowful eyes. His reflection spoke, a voice raspy and low. "You chose the wrong path, Elias." The image shimmered and disappeared. He dismissed it as a trick of the light, a fatigue-induced hallucination. However, the next day, a different reflection appeared, a younger Elias, vibrant and carefree, laughing with a woman whose face was obscured by the swirling mists in the mirror. A feeling of profound loss washed over him, a deep sense of a life unlived, a path not taken. He found himself unable to leave the mirror, a strange fascination growing within him. Each day brought a new reflection, a new version of himself. One was a renowned artist, painting in a sun-drenched studio. Another was a renowned scientist, in a sterile, pristine lab, a look of grim determination upon his face. Yet another was a reclusive writer in a cluttered room, words flowing from his pen, a look of melancholy in his eyes. Was this some kind of cruel joke? He wasn't even sure these were alternate lives or just visions his mind conjured. The mirror showed him a life of quiet comfort, family, but a sense of unfulfilled potential. This Elias seemed content, but his eyes held a hint of regret. Another showed him as a world traveler, adventure-seeking, fearless but lonely and alone. The more he looked, the more he felt he was unraveling, his sense of self fractured. Each reflection carried a message, a whisper of what if, an echo of decisions made and not made. He spent weeks staring into the mirror, barely eating or sleeping, mesmerized by the endless possibilities it offered. It was intoxicating and terrifying at once. He considered shattering it, destroying the constant assault of his alternate selves. However, he found that he couldn't bring himself to do it. One reflection showed him old and alone, bitter and resentful, a shell of his former self. The sight was deeply disturbing, a stark warning of a potential future. Then a new reflection appeared, one of fierce determination, one of ambition he had never known, an Elias who had dared to defy expectations. The mirror was showing him the consequences of his choices, the potential paths he could take, but he was still not sure which one was the real Elias. He began to think there wasn't one real Elias. He was, perhaps, the sum total of all these possibilities. He started journaling, writing down his observations, trying to make sense of the chaos. The mirror wasn't just showing him alternate lives, it was forcing him to confront his own insecurities, his ambitions, his regrets. It was a brutal mirror reflecting not just his appearance, but also his soul. His past, present, and future seemed to collide in its shimmering surface, every gaze into the glass revealing another piece of himself he hadn't even known existed. He saw himself succeeding spectacularly and failing miserably. He saw himself falling in love and breaking hearts. The mirror seemed to have a life of its own, feeding on his emotions, his deepest fears. He decided he needed help, seeking out a specialist, a psychologist, hoping to unravel this puzzle. The doctor listened, a mixture of skepticism and fascination in his eyes. The doctor suggested that the mirror might be a manifestation of his subconscious, reflecting his hidden desires and fears. The constant barrage of alternate realities was causing him immense stress. Elias started therapy, learning to process his feelings. He started to understand that the mirror wasn't showing him fixed realities but possibilities, pathways he could still choose. He began to see the mirror not as a curse, but as a tool for self-discovery. Slowly, the frequency of the reflections decreased. He wasn't haunted by them anymore. He began to incorporate the wisdom gleaned from his reflections into his life. He made changes, small at first, then more substantial, embracing aspects of those alternate selves that resonated with him. He chose to live his life with more intention, more courage, inspired by the glimpses of his potential he'd seen. The antique mirror still sat in his room, a quiet reminder of the journey he had undertaken, a testament to his growth and acceptance of his complex self. He never knew exactly what the mirror was or why it had chosen him, but he had found himself in its depths and somehow emerged changed, stronger, and more complete.